Hi, Dafika.
Hi, Jasmine.
And everybody. Look, I was incredibly moved by that, and I think everybody in the room probably was. I know that, I've spoken to a lot of men from India, and I've been made aware of the gravity of the situation there and the suicide rate in India. I'm curious to know what you think that we can do from this end of the world to help to raise awareness. Obviously, your film is a great step forward, both in India and around the world. I imagine that there's little that we can do in terms of influencing your laws, but what can we do to support your men?
I think one of the things that I think can happen if I take this film internationally is, if nothing else, then at least have this pressure built from an international community that at least our Domestic Violence Act needs to be gender neutral, if nothing else. And I know, as a matter of fact, it has happened in a lot of countries after protests and international awareness. So I think that's one place where we can, take this message around to the world that this is what is happening in India. Because the way India is projected internationally is all about women harassment and crime against women and all. These stories just do not go over there. So one, if I can be, and I seek support from all of you, to take this documentary to as many international audience as possible, and if all of you could make that happen. And I think that's the only way that we can put some pressure on our government to make this act gender neutral, because I think all of us in the audience here know how powerful the feminist organizations are across the world. It's the same case in India as well. So you saw two ladies over there. They are a part of the feminist groups over there. And so they are very strong, and whenever it is a question of making the laws gender neutral, they have a huge and a strong opposition. And apparently, no matter what our feminist organizations say, we have quite a decent representation of them in the parliament. To just share with all of you, one of our ministers actually raised this question of misuse of law, and he was asked to apologize by the female member of parliament, and he did. Yeah. So I think bringing awareness was the main intention of mine, to make Martyrs of Marriage. And I think as far as the message goes, I think every step would matter. Yeah.
I would like to add something to this, because I have done this. Here is the problem. We cannot fight this battle in India, actually, because your governments are funding it. USAID has a presence in the embassy in Delhi, and they know what is 498A. Amnesty International gets the funds from Europe. They know what is 498A. United Nations conducts programs on 498A. We have participated in their discussions. So, and DFID, the British government's fund. Okay, so I will tell you, they had a program called International Violence Against Women Act by Joe Biden. He started that bill was proposed in 2007, and we lobbied with the American men's rights activists. That was before AVFM. In 2007, Uma Challa, the lady you saw most of the times, she lobbied to get it stopped. In 2010, I and my team and the American men's rights activists met. We went to the offices of 30 congressmen, House of Representatives, and also senators. In fact, I have met diplomats associated with John Kerry about this issue, and we said that you are not going to fund $1 billion to these feminists under Iowa program. You make a statutory language to exclude India from that, because you are doing human rights violations and you just don't care. Then the response was like, oh, we never knew, we only give funds. If it is your legal problem, your police is the problem, what can we do about it? Then why do you mess in our country? We are a democratic country. In fact, let me be honest. Let me be honest. I was very harsh. I said, listen, you have all the enemies right there in my neighborhood. Many people don't like you. Do you want India also to fall in that place? Do you want some demonstrations out there? What do you want? If you are ignorant, that's not my problem. You are funding snakes. You should stop that. And in fact, they stopped the bill. IWAWA, if you go to International Violence Against, they stopped the bill. So here is what you can do. If you are lobbying with your government here, we may get some Indians who work here or who are immigrants, they may associate with you. Many of you are lobbying, so they can go with you. And because they are planning to pass a dowry law in Australia, by the way.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so just 2 or 3 people, they can travel here and meet your MPs or the human rights organization in the United States, ACLU. We can show the documentary, or we may give them at least a flyer so that they're aware, so the lobbying can work.
Since this is about the movement, I'll just add. What is it?
You can take this on.
Yeah. Since this is about the movement, I'll just add here. In the morning, like when Greg was talking about his presentation, please don't mind, there was one sentence about female feticide being high in China and India. And we were like looking at each other's faces because that is a false thing. I mean, it is a hoax. We have got like data which says like in 2001 there were 0 to 1 years age. There was X number of boys and X number of Y number of girls. Then 2011, the population should be the same, or it should be only equivalent to the migrant population if there are any migrants, which is not much. But suddenly, when we see the census of 2011, then the number is increasing. So, I mean, this female feticide thing is just like the rape narrative, which is designed to defame Indian men and India so that feminists gets more funding and all. Like, talking about the rape narrative also, it's crazy. In India, about 30% of the rape cases are in such a case when if a boyfriend and a girlfriend, they are in a relationship and the boyfriend breaks the relationship. If there is a breakup, then the girl has got the freedom to go ahead and file a rape case. That happens. So 30% of the cases are like that. About 40% cases are when the girl and the boy, if they are eloping and getting married because the family doesn't agree or whatever, when they come back, the family of the girl, they file a rape case on the boy. So around 70% of those are that. But still, the narrative is like rape is too high and female feticide. So these are the platforms where we would like that you help us to break these hoaxes. That's what we would want.
Yeah.
Did you say that was 07, 10 years ago when that bill was passed?
No, it's now 34 years.
34 years.
83 it was passed. Yeah, 34 years now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
There have been conversations several times, like the documentary explains, of the law changing, but eventually nothing has happened. So I'm hoping that probably this documentary can drive...
yeah, we see the same things here.
Yeah.
Because if I got my facts right, the Chinese government funds a lot of the Marxist parties that are at the state level in a lot of states in India. So they've got that infrastructure there that's coming in from China, and then you get money from the UN.
Yeah, there's a lot of funds that is flowing into India, into these issues, into women's issues. Like Anil said, it's several organizations. And that, of course, gives them a lot of power, a lot of power.
Thank you. Very good film. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark.
I don't want to assume too much. I heard you say that you've done some work with the UN, the United Nations.
No, that was just a very small film, which was again fun. I mean, as in, there was a small women's organization which was working on a project. I just made a documentary on that project. I haven't worked with the United Nations.
Well, what I'm wondering is whether any of the MRAs in India have taken this to the United Nations Human Rights Court. And the reason I ask, and this is what I don't want to assume too much, maybe you have, maybe you've looked into it, but in the MRAs in Israel, they had, maybe you know this, they had the 10 years doctrine in Israel where they just, it's explicitly discriminatory, and they took that to the United Nations Human Rights Court, and the court chastised Israel and sided with the MRA and said this violates the International Declaration of Human Rights, which forbids discrimination based on sex. The United Nations doesn't have binding authority over Israel or their member nations, but they can chastise them for it. And that could be very effective, I'm thinking, with India. And I'm just curious about it because it's explicitly written in the law. You don't even need statistics to prove it's discriminatory. It's explicit.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm just curious, because that looks...
I agree with you. There are two parts to it. One is discrimination part. The other part is the Article 11th of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which says that you cannot presume any accused as guilty until proven innocent. And in these laws, the Evidence Act has the word presume. You presume these people as guilty, and it is written, coded into the law. So it is violating those two sections. Now, somehow we have not got the connections. Evidence Act 113B in dowry death cases, and also which is applicable to 498A, which speaks about that if a woman is harassed, it may be presumed that the husband and relatives have caused it. The presumption is in the wording.
Have you moved the United Nations Human Rights?
No, because we have not yet got the right connections yet to because. See, I don't know even where the court is, whether it is in Geneva or in New York.
Well, let's talk.
We need to talk
about
Mark.
it. We would love to discuss this, Mark. We would love to discuss this. But just to share with you, and in fact, Jasmine, somewhere, not exactly you to answer your question, but just to share, and I would love to with all of you, the most important thing which I personally feel as a filmmaker that has happened with Martyrs of Marriage is it's very difficult to change the system. But like Cassie's documentary brings a very human perspective to the entire issue. I think Martyrs of Marriage does the same. And in the screenings in India, we've got sitting high court judges who have attended my documentary screening. And they found the documentary to be a very balanced piece of work, which was the need of the hour. And now they have taken the documentary to the judicial academies, where our judges and police officers get trained. So after their training, the documentary is getting officially screened in some of the judicial academies to sensitize them to these issues as well. So I think that's... I think that's a great starting point to actually reach out to the people who are the biggest authority when the things start from the bottom itself. So the next month I am hopefully getting the film online. It's not online yet, but I would also keep pushing the film's screening in the Parliament of India for our Member of Parliament so that they can see it and probably decide on what's happening, and also keep screening it at the judicial academies, because it is those people who take the decisions when these cases begin.
I will add something. In fact, we have exhausted all channels inside India. If you see, for example, the Indian Parliament had a petition, so there was a Parliament Standing Committee only on 498A. So I was there, and another 10 organizations of men's rights, we testified in front of the committee, and committee recommended punishment for the misuse and all that. There was a report submitted to the upper house of parliament. However, it is like we are able to push them up to that limit, and then we fall back. We couldn't finish the game. However, once the pressure builds up from the international community and international organizations, then that will stop this. Because the lifeline, the supply lines are somewhere else. It's like a war. Okay? So the supply lines are from other countries. And the media, BBC and CNN and all that. So forget about media. let's work with the parliaments in other countries, the British or the European Parliament and Australia and other countries, so that the pressure will be from that side, and then it will stop, and it will be diluted to a great extent.
And just to add, in fact, Mark, to let you know more, the latest conversation in India, which is being pushed by feminists really hard, is marital rape. And it's going to be so dangerous, because what we are seeing towards the end of the documentary, you must have seen that the Supreme Court of India in 2005 issued guidelines that have relaxed a bit of relaxed the situation a bit in terms of controlling the mechanical arrests that used to happen. What we are seeing as an aftermath of it is allegations of rape on father-in-law, brother-in-law, rape, allegations of molestation on male family members. There's several people, several cases that we have come to us, and all of us, because we are very closely connected with these cases and these guys more, is allegations of unnatural sex without any evidence. Absolutely no evidence at all. And all these sections are now being added to ensure arrest of the husband and his family. And the pitch for marital rape is pretty high in India. And there's so many cases where the men of the family are now staying outside, and the police tells them, you better stay outside your home, because if your daughter-in-law or sister-in-law says that you molested her, then we'll have to arrest you. There's just no other way that we have. It's better to be safe than sorry. So that's the latest that's happening in India. Very, very. We have petitions in the Delhi High Court. We have petition in the Supreme Court of India as well to legalize marital rape. So we do not have a law.
You mean law against the marital?
Yeah, law against marital rape. Bring a law that criminalizes marital rape.
Here is the problem about this. In India, if a man is separated from his wife, if he rapes her or there is sexual violence, then that is considered as rape. However, if they both are living together, then the sexual violence can only be addressed through the domestic violence law, which is more like a civil law. It can give you a restraining order.
And 498 as well.
Yeah, and 498.
Yeah.
But the marital rape exception, because our laws are the British law, 376 I think is a British law, so the marital rape exception, which was removed from the Western countries in early 90s, still exists. So in the law, the text of the law has the exception there. In fact, that was a very bad way of drafting laws in 18th century. You should not make any law with exceptions built into it, but that is how the British were. They had this exception, and now the feminists are saying just remove that exception from that, whatever happened in the Western world. But the problem is the government is scared in India because the way this law is misused. If once the marital rape law comes up, the husband may go to prison for 7 years. 7 years, and the evidence, the threshold of the evidences required for the rape have been reduced after this December 2012 incident. So you cannot talk about the previous history of the woman. You cannot have a trial openly. You cannot talk about the victim's name outside. It's a closed trial.
And it's just a statement-based. Yeah.
So there is no way you can bring public accountability from the people. See, you and me cannot walk into a rape trial or find any information. Media can't find the information. So there is no way you know what is going on in a rape trial.
Yeah.
Any of you personally under threat in your own person? Is anyone looking at coming after you guys?
Are you asking me if any of us have threats?
Yes.
I have had a lot of no, I have a lot of death wishes by people on social media, but not yet death threats. So a lot of young girls in India have written to me saying, "Why don't you just die?" No, as such, no.
I will answer it this way, that somehow the way we evolved into helplines, we started helplines to help these guys for emergencies. So somehow we are not able to properly communicate with the men who get false sexual harassment or in workplace harassment or rape cases. So number of people who come with false rape cases are less unless it is the father of the husband or something.
No, actually,
like that.
just to sum it up, to be very honest, except this instance that I shared where these feminists broke the chairs in the Delhi High Court, or some of the protests outside our protest locations in India, have we seen any violent protests as such?
In Hyderabad,
Yeah.
in Hyderabad, when we had a protest, just like what we saw in Edmonton, there was similar of that kind. And there have been when we were having press conferences, there were hostile people coming across. That's all. We have never seen more than that. Yeah.
So not really any violent attacks, but yes, they are so powerful in the system itself that I don't think they really need to do something like that. But yes, all of us get, yeah.
There is a simple reason for this. I love it when a feminist comes to me to seek help because her son is implicated and she has gone to prison.
I was about to say that. I was about
She's
to
going
say
to
that.
prison.
You know what? I was about to say that actually.
I asked her, so which organization is it? Progressive Women's Alliance, affiliated to some communist party. She has worked for 20 years or 25 years and she went to prison for 15 days. And her daughter is a dentist and her engagement was called off because it's the family of criminals, right? So this law, it's like some kind of a war of the world kind of a scene. This law has eaten into the feminist territory, and the feminists themselves are giving us the victims helpline. Why don't you call? So this had actually eaten into the feminist strongholds. So I went to an Eastern Indian city. It's full of feminists, and I was really expecting trouble. They have a lot of 498 cases, and we found nothing because I found that all the feminists have got it. By the way, my mom is a feminist. If it's a feminist son, the guy is going to be emasculated. He's a nice guy and a humble guy. He's not, all that. And he's more likely to get it. He's more likely to get this problem because, you radiate victimhood. You radiate niceness. It's like an antenna. Okay?
So just to sum it up, I would like to believe that we haven't got really some of these crazy things that we saw in Cassie's documentary because what Anil said, even the women organizations have these cases in their families. They know what they've done, but they can't, of course, openly talk about it. Of late, we have seen some organizations and some members of the Women Commission also openly accept that there are huge number of false cases, but the point remains the same. What are they doing about it? They're not doing anything about it.
Here is one thing I wanted to add. In Australia, you follow cricket, right? At least some of you follow. So there was a Pakistan's captain, Shoaib Malik. He was the captain of Pakistani team, and he was getting married to one of the top doubles players in tennis, her Indian female, Shania Mirza. They both were getting married in Hyderabad, and one woman, some random woman, filed a 498 on Shoaib Malik. Okay? Yeah. So just imagine the amount of sensation it would have created, and we pitched in, we supported him, and then we got 70 newspaper articles in one day, including in Pakistan. So you have to ride on. So it is impacting everybody. It is impacting the celebrities, the singers, the everybody.
I went and met the current Foreign Affairs Minister along with people from the Save Indian Family activists, and we were at that time campaigning against a law that was supposed to come in India, which was called Irretrievable Breakdown of Marriage, which had extremely biased provisions embedded into it, and the feminists were trying to pass the law without any discussions, and it's a very normal thing to happen in India, especially when it comes to passing laws against men like that. And we met her, and we don't yet have any provisions where it is mandatorily written that 50% of the assets would be divided, so the law was coming into picture with those kind of provisions. So we went and lobbied a bit, and our current Foreign Affairs Minister said that we know the abuse of these laws. It has happened inside our own families, but we can't do anything about it. But you please rest assured that this law we wouldn't allow to bring. So,
she's referring to the no-fault divorce.
Yeah, correct.
In the traditional countries, no-fault divorce doesn't exist. That's why the divorce case goes for 7-8 years.
Yeah,
so they said that, okay, 2 years we are going to give you divorce, but then they changed the definition of marital property. So all the women's property is her individual property. The husband's property and husband's parents' property will be considered as marital property. So half of it will be given. Okay, and the loan, they have no definition, the liabilities. So they will only consider the assets. They have absolutely no idea what the liabilities can be. And then the husband, whatever the husband may inherit, the husband's inherited property or inheritable property. So whatever he may inherit from his parents, so a portion of that would be given to the wife.
Yeah.
So in fact, she got arrested. They protested in front of the Prime Minister's house, 100 guys, Prime Minister's house twice. And then that's illegal to protest in front of the Prime Minister's house. So she and another 100 people were picked up and put in a police station. And we were all calling all the helplines and all the politicians. So it was covered by national media.
But we did stall that bill to quite a bit. It was stalled.
We could roll back the bill.
Deepika, I have to say I've always respected you, but after that film, that level of respect has just gone from here to way up here. I thought The Red Pill was incredibly emotional. This takes it to a whole new level. My question is, as a filmmaker, with how raw, how painful, how tragic those stories are, how do you get through all that process of making that film without it taking just an irreversible emotional toll on you?
You know, that's exactly the reason I asked the question I asked Cassie yesterday, that didn't you feel hopeless? Because I felt extremely broken down, especially when I was shooting Avdesh's case. I just gave it up. I was like, what am I even doing, or what am I even trying to do? Is it going to change anything? And the situation is so terrible. Are these people blind that they can't see? It was a very difficult and a painful journey, but to just share with all of you, the reason that I started this was because something similar happened in my own family, and I gave a commitment to myself that I will do it. I need to tell the world about this problem, and there was no going back, so I made it.
We've got time for one more quick question. Quick one.
That's my phone.
Hi. What indications, anecdotal or evidence-based, are there that this abuse is... What effect is this abuse having on families in India? Would-be families or actual families? So, like, I'm just imagining, I can't imagine wanting to get married under those conditions. So if I were a would-be potential getting married, I wouldn't do it. So is there any indications, you know, of it changing relationships, if you will?
I think so. There are a lot of people who keep interacting on my social media profiles, so there's definitely a lot of fear in the young boys, given the extremely biased laws that we have. And to just share with all of you, Canada, US, and Australia as well have issued travel advisories at different points of time in the past, and even now, Canada has it even now, where they have told men not to go and get married just like that in India because they can get a false dowry case. So yes, there's a lot of fear. The way it has impacted marriages is, I think, the way these things have impacted marriages across the world. We have seen divorces, the divorce rates in India have gone up really high. If I believe what lawyers told me is that there's a 35 to 40% rise in divorce rates in India over the last decade or so. And increasingly we are seeing people opting for live-in relationships, which are now sort of legalized, and there are various provisions. I mean, there's acceptance now increasingly in the society as well and in courts as well. But the problem over there is that what Amit said, like if you're in a live-in relationship and if the guy decides to walk out, the woman can file a rape case on him. Rape on false promise of marriage.
I must clarify here. Here is the wording of that. The wording says that sex with false promise of marriage is rape. It is not in any law, but the courts have regularly declared this as a citation, right? You refer to that. So they said that you promise a woman that you will get married, and then you obtain consent, and after 2 years you do not marry her, okay? Then that consent is invalid. That's how the traditionalist system has defined. So, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. And if I may, invite, so Chetan is from Vastav Foundation in Mumbai, and he regularly counsels people who are going through this abuse, and you saw his own personal story in the documentary. So maybe Chetan, you can talk about how men are feeling when they come to the meetings of Save Indian Family.
Thank you guys for giving us platform in this international conference of men. We have tried to highlight our issues, whatever we are facing in India. This feminist, whatever you are reading in the media, whatever you are seeing in the media, that India is a country of rape or dowry death, that is all false propaganda created by feminists only. It is not like that. Whatever story is given regarding this dowry death and rape and this female fetusicide, whatever story is being given in the media, that is all false. It is not. We have the data. We have National Crime Record Bureau of data, where we can prove that whatever is coming in the media, that is not correct. So definitely we will try to correct these laws. Whatever laws are against men, we will try to correct it. Thank you.
A lot of families in which the elder son has gone through a 498A misuse and abuse, several of them have told me that they're not getting their younger son married. So that's sort of the impact.
When you are saying about, talking about the impact on the family or whatever, so India has a healthy MGTOW movement. So the MGTOWs think that, by the way, unlike the MGTOWs in other countries, Indian MGTOWs think that even if they isolate themselves from the society, go to jungles or to some place, the government will come after them. So you have to do activism. So you cannot say, I will just walk out of the society, because government will chase you into wherever you are hiding. So you have to be in the ground, and so we don't have a difference between who is a MRA, who is a MGTOW, who is an anti-feminist. We all are together, except that we don't share much of a platform with traditionalists who are anti-homophobic or who are very much pro. We generally, we may talk to them offline, but we won't share platforms with somebody who conducts mass marriages. Mass marriage, poor people are taken, and 100 couples marry because they are poor, so there's a mass marriages and all. We do not associate with them, but there is a healthy MGTOW side of it which is coming up.
Do we have any more questions?
No, we're going to have to finish up, unfortunately.
Okay. Can I share a few things, Robert? Okay, first, I'm doing a screening of Martyrs of Marriage in Melbourne on 18th of June. The details are available on Martyrs of Marriage Facebook page. I would really request you to invite your friends. If you like the film, please invite them to watch the film. It's at Thornbury Theatre, Victoria, on 18th of June, 2 p.m. I am really looking forward. Thornbury Theatre, 18th of June, 2 p.m. Thornbury. Yeah, Thornbury. The details are available on the Martyrs of Marriage Facebook page. I am going to be traveling to Sydney as well during this journey of mine to Australia. If any of you wish to organize a private screening in Sydney, I would love to do that. I would be there from 22nd to 25th. I'm really looking forward to support because since this is my first documentary, I really don't have too much of experience in terms of how do I take this documentary out to international audience. If any one of you is willing to support me in that, please get in touch. Sorry? All right, Cassie is going to help me. We are running a crowdfund for the documentary on Milap because I'm taking the documentary to various cities in India, and all of these screenings have been free of cost because India really is not warm to documentaries. People don't really walk into theaters to watch documentaries. So we have been doing free screenings for the last 6 months, and I'm running a crowdfund for that if any one of you wish to contribute. I have a feedback form, and I would really love to hear your views on Martyrs of Marriage. It's on the back side. Please do share how did you like Martyrs of Marriage. Last but not the least, thank you so much, Robert. Thank you so much, A Voice for Men. I know what it means for me to come here and present my documentary. I thank you so much for
You're welcome, Deepika. It's been amazing
giving
having
me
you here.
this platform. And thanks.
Thank you very much to Deepika and the rest of the team on stage.
Thank you for having all of us here, and it's been wonderful being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, if I could ask everybody...